"Are you done?" I asked through gritted teeth, holding my sword out in an offensive stance. Uto merely shrugged. "You may as well have that little bond of yours come out. You're going to need all the help you can get." "Come out, Sylvie," I said aloud, keeping my gaze locked on the retainer. She hopped out of my cloak, looking as fierce and fearless as I'd ever seen her. "It's a shame that the circumstances surrounding this battle aren't as fervent as I thought they'd be, pup. That elemental blast you shot at me when we first met, that left a significant impression, you see. It made me think I had hurt you deeply, personally. No matter. Let's see if you can humor me for at least a few minutes." Uto took a step forward, but unlike the casual saunter he had used before, the space around him suddenly distorted. His presence became almost palpable in the air, and each step sent ripples of vibrations into the ground. I immediately unleashed Realm Heart, and Sylvie shifted into her draconic form. "A wyvern?" Uto asked, tilting his head. "Why? Does that scare you?" I pushed. He responded with a wicked sneer, then nonchalantly flicked his right hand. With Realm Heart amplifying my affinity to the ambient mana surrounding us, I sensed the disturbance in front of me before I could actually see anything. Sylvie and I dashed in opposite directions, just in time to dodge the barrage of black spikes that had instantly manifested from beneath us. The ground we had just been standing on now looked like the back of a large and angry porcupine. Each of the 7-foot spikes gleamed with menace. "Brandish your weapon, pup," Uto spat, drawing a large black harpoon from the center of his palm. The blade of my sword shimmered in a scintillating array of colors as I infused ice, fire, lightning, and wind. "Let's go." With Sylvie by my side, I charged. I held my sword low as I raced toward the retainer. With a manic grin, Uto charged as well, his harpoon arm drawn back like a snake ready to lash out. In an instant, my blade met his, creating a spherical wave from the sheer concussive force of our impact. The elements infused in Dawn's ballad surged out, but Uto held on effortlessly. "Not bad." "Duck," Sylvie said. I immediately obeyed, and my bond lashed out with her long tail, hitting him square in the side as soon as I dropped to the ground. Uto flew away, slamming into a nearby boulder which shattered upon impact. The veil of debris had yet to clear when I flourished Dawn's ballad. A polychromatic crescent of mana ripped from my blade, slicing the cloud of dust as it traveled. The earth shook violently as the shockwave carved a trench into the ground before exploding through several trees, which fell in a series of splintering crashes around Uto. "He's still alive," Sylvie informed me. She was already prepared for her next attack. I lowered myself, weaving more mana around my body in case of a surprise strike, but rather than a retaliation, a laugh rang from within the depression in the ground. Again, I saw the flickering fluctuations of mana around me. Thin spikes were conjured from thin air, while large pillars of the black metal fired out from the shadows beneath the many boulders and fallen logs. I parried the thin spikes, each one sending a jarring amount of force up my arms. Meanwhile, Sylvie knocked aside the thick pillars that had sprouted from the darker shadows. Her thick scales managed to withstand most of the attacks, but the sheer volume and intensity of Uto's sudden barrage left us both wounded and bleeding. "Don't heal us," I ordered, when Sylvie gathered mana into her breath. "Not yet, at least." "I expected more, pup." Uto sighed theatrically as he walked out of the depression of earth that I had created with my last attack. "Cover my back," I sent Sylvie, siphoning more mana out of my mana core and into my body. I could see my long hair turning white as I fell deeper into the Realm Heart physique. The runes became more complex, and I could feel the mark branded on my back as well. The mana around me seemed eager to obey my thoughts. It twirled around me, forming seamlessly into spells that would normally require immense concentration. Dawn's ballad was emblazoned in a silver aura of frost, and my left fist crackled with tendrils of black lightning. Uto's brows were knitted, but he had no time for thought as I arrived, unleashing a torrent of attacks. My crystalline sword was no more than a blur, leaving only streaks of silver in its path. I weaved in punches, elbows, knees, and kicks, as Cordry had taught me in our years of training. Every time I swung Dawn's ballad, he instantly countered with a black spike, which froze and shattered on impact. Meanwhile, Sylvie stayed close behind, her limbs a flurry of scales and claws as she hacked and ripped away at the never-ending barrage of black spikes Uto conjured. Soon, the area around us became a ruin of frozen rubble and severed spikes of black metal. "This isn't good, Arthur. Uto's attacks seem to get faster and stronger the longer we fight," Sylvie grunted. My eyes remained locked on the retainer, who had yet to receive a single wound. Every time it seemed like I was about to land an attack, a black slate of metal would form around the area, protecting him. I'll have to kick it up a notch. The thick tendrils of black lightning that coiled around my arm receded at my beckoning. I internalized the lightning magic, quickening my reaction time by reinforcing my very neurons with crackling energy. The entire world seemed to slow. My senses were heightened to an almost overwhelming degree. Colors seemed to pop, and the tiny particles of mana visible through Realm Heart came alive. I swung Dawn's Ballad once more and easily dipped under Uto's thrust. Just as my blade was about to connect with Uto's exposed side, I saw it. The retainer's black spike magic, which seemed instant in normal time, was rapidly coalescing just where my attack was about to hit. I instantly redirected my strike upward to just below his arm. I could see the ghastly mana moving, reacting to my new attack, but it didn't reach in time. I feigned another attack, then drove my fist into his sternum instead. The retainer buckled over from the blow. He took a step back to keep himself upright, and a thin trail of fluid too dark to be blood trickled down the side of his mouth. I was surprised that my attack had actually connected. I paused for a beat before lunging forward with another strike. "It's in the shadows, Sylv!" I screamed internally. "Those black spikes can only manifest in areas of darkness. That's why his spells are always more powerful when they come from the shadows." Uto's hand blurred. It blurred. Despite being in Realm Heart and having Thunderclap Impulse heightening my senses, I couldn't clearly see his strike. His fist hit me like a train. Even with the density of mana protecting my body, I felt myself flicker in and out of consciousness. By the time I had collected myself, I was 20 feet away, with my back up against the shattered trunk of a tree. Sylvie was holding Uto off, the blood from her fresh wounds coating her black scales. Since her abilities had been sealed, she wasn't able to keep up with Uto any more than I could, even with her superior defenses. I got up, pondering whether to try Burst Step once more to outmaneuver Uto.
You'll be crippled for the rest of your life if you use Burst Step again.
It's better than dying here, isn't it?
If you made it this far, thank you very much. Please leave a like and subscribe. Part 2 should be coming out soonish, and if you like stuff like this, just let me know which one we should do next. And yes, I'll see you guys in the next video.